Hello and welcome. Some people ask me how I manage to do my animations for my webcasts. So today I thought I'd show you a particular programming package that I use. I'm going to open it up. It's up here. Let me just click on it now. It's called a package called ezPlotter. I can actually import data from any CSV file. So it means that effectively you can import data from any data source. But I'm going to look for a particular data file here, and I'm going to import it into the package. You'll see that I have auto scale checked, which means that when we plot it, it's going to automatically define the X and the Y values. So let's go and plot that, and we can see that we've in this particular data set we have two data sets, one for white, one for red, and these are the data plots for each of those data sets. The X range is actually very large, and so there's a lot of points here which are kind of grouped up very closely together and we can't really see them. So how we can actually deal with that is to do the x-axis on a logarithmic plot. And if we do that, well, first of all you see the logarithmic gradations, but then you see all of these individual data points which we couldn't see before coming up very nicely. Another kind of feature of this is that the legend, which defines the data points, if I need to, I can sort of move it around. Perhaps I want to move it down to that point. Perhaps I need to move it more to the right. I can do that. It's just a very nice way of interactively changing where the legend is positioned, although in this particular graph we don't really need to worry about that. If we look at the settings box, this is the legend tab, which allows me to just define labels for the different data sets, the background color for the legend box. I can look at the individual data sets and give them individual colors. I can define the plot type, whether it's a rectangle or a circle or just a plain line. And on the graph, I can define what the background color is, and so on and so forth. So let's say I want to change that to blue. There we go. If I now try to plot that again, we get a nice blue background. The other kind of data set or data file I like to deal with is an audio file, and I'm going to pick up this audio file here and I'm going to plot that. This is a typical voice audio file. We can play it if I go and just click on this and play with Windows. Beatles. As you can see, that is the voice print for Beatles. But what I can also do, which is sometimes useful, I can sort of define a selected area of this particular waveform. I can move it about. Let's say I just want to select the start point. I can actually save that as another wave file. I'm going to call it clipped, and I'm going to save it. Hopefully now we will have a clipped wave file saved in the directory, and if I play that again with Windows, you see we just see the beginning part of the wave file. So I hear you ask, what about the animations? Well, of course it made sense to kind of extend this package to be able to deal with the creation of a sequence of graphic stills, or movie stills if you wish. In order to do that, I set up a special control file, which we can have a look at now, which is structured basically like an XML file. And I have two particular sections of the file. One is within a fixed tag section, and this is if I want to define attributes to an animation sequence that will remain static or fixed throughout the sequence. Like for instance here I have a text, and then there's a variable section which is really the animated part of the control. In this particular case we have a bar plot which will be varying between 0 and 36. We give it various attributes such as a colour, and so on and so forth. So let me just say goodbye to that file and go back to our program, and perhaps I want to animate a particular sequence. I'm going to pick up this control file, and now as you can see down here we're producing a sequence of stills. These are a sequence of bitmap images, and we're almost there. We can have a look at it. Before we play that, I can have a look at the settings and have a look at my animations tab. There are various settings I have here. I can define a root directory for where we want to put the animations, and there are various controls here, including movie preview control, which I'll talk about in a second. So let's try and preview the movie. Okay, I've started the movie, but you can see nothing is happening at the moment because I've programmed the program to pause on start, and this gives me the opportunity to locate this window anywhere I want for the purposes of screen capture. And then I can start with a key control, and here we are, I've got it starting, but I can also stop it, pause it. This is also very useful if you need to pause an animation because you need to say something in the narration to make a particular point, and so you can stop it and then start it going again. And there we are. This is just a sequence of animations with simple circle objects and line objects, and perhaps we just want to restart. There we go. And of course what I can do is I can capture this with our screen capture program, and then of course we can export it to an appropriate video format. So let's see if we can produce and run an animation clip with narration in true BBC style. Stay tuned. And so we start off with the results for the 2010 general election. First off are the Tories, who commanded the highest vote share with 36.1% of the total. Next up is Labour with an overall share of 29%. But let's look at the Lib Dem share, an astonishing 23% of the vote. This deprived the Tories of a practical working majority and so led to the coalition government. Finally, we have UKIP on a paltry figure of 3.1%. They say that a week is a long time in politics, and if so, then 5 years is positively forever. Let's look at the 2015 election results. First of all, the Tories. They slightly increased their share of the vote to 36.9%. Next up, Labour. They also slightly increased their share to 30.4%. But just look at the collapse of the Lib Dem vote, which comes crashing down to 7.9%. Even more astonishing, the rise in the UKIP vote, the People's Army, quadrupling their share of the vote to 12.6%. This led to only one seat in the House of Commons for UKIP. This will fuel the ammunition for those groupings who wish to see proportional representation established at Westminster. And now, back to the studio.